slide, sir. Yes. Can we see
Good morning.
as per the list schedule? Can you change the slide, sir? Next slide. Ramendranath Verma, do you want to say something?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you want to say something or do you want to present?
Yeah, ma'am. My presentation will be there.
Yeah, you're the first presenter of this session. Okay.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Topic of this session is society and media, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You can start.
Yeah, sure, ma'am. So the topic of my presentation is role of media in highlighting the scientific and technological advancement in ancient India. So I am trying to share my screen with you people.
Yeah, I think it is activated.
I would like to go for abstract. The Indian heritage is one of the richest and oldest among the world, and Indian civilization has a long recorded history of scientific and culture that goes back to more than 5,000 years. This paper presents the review of scientific and technological development in Indian heritage. The data has been collected from the secondary sources and content analysis has been done by me. On based of that, the whatever I have got, I am presenting the gist of the paper. So as far as the introduction is concerned, the Indian civilization is the one of the oldest and richest and has a strong technological in science and technology tradition. The Harappan culture, which was known as the Indus Valley civilization, flourished for nearly 8th century. It was observed that for its efficient planning, for tones, interlinked drainage system, dwelling houses, etc. This paper presents the glimpse of achievement of India in scientific and technological field. As far as the astronomy and mathematics is concerned, we were far more advanced of what we are seeing in the West. 1,000 years before the time of Copernicus, Aryabhat in India made an outstanding contribution to astronomy and mathematics. In 500 AD, they discovered zero and were first to use the decimal system. For Indian astronomers, the star had a special message. Constellations were observed, and movement of moon and sun were studied 3,000 years ago. Jantar Mantar, a cluster of huge machinery identification, was created by Swai Jaisingh II for analyzing the celestial movement. As far as the traditional medicine is concerned, the traditional Indian medicine Ayurveda focused on longevity and prescribed several remedial measures. Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes,
Hello.
you are. Maybe you can switch on your video, Ramendra.
This is Dr. Tanushree Mukherjee, yes. I would just like to say, I've even mentioned in the chat box, to make the session go very fine and interesting, can we have the inputs and the questions after every presentation, if you all allow it that way?
Yeah, I think we should have immediately after the presentation.
Exactly. Otherwise, it will get piled up.
Yes, yes. I'm sure we can do that, ma'am. Yeah. So any questions?
Or shall I give my inputs?
Nobody have any questions regarding the presentation?
Any questions from the audience presenters? Okay, I have a question. I just want to know how you're relating your findings to media. As I was listening to the presentation, yeah, it was a nice mapping of the technological innovations. But what about media? So where does media come here?
Ma'am, media comes here in two ways. If you go in a library, you get quite of good books in which these have been written, and print media is there which have been published, which has published these books. And if you watch the Discovery Channel,
Mm.
a special program has come up for this findings which have been taken up. And this is due to the media only that we are coming to know about these things. We have History Channel also, and Discover India channel is also there.
Correct. My second question is, if the audience permit me, what is the case study you're talking about? Which is the case study? I could not understand which case, specific case you are looking into. Because you've written a case study.
Yes, ma'am. It is, ma'am, basically I have compiled it. I have shown the gist. I have full paper also. Case study basically in the, it is a compiled form, ma'am, not a specific, to be
A
very.
little,
I need to polish it up, ma'am.
Yeah, you need to rework on the title, because title is like a window to your paper, right? When you
Yes, ma'am.
case study, we all will look for some particular case which you are going to dwell more and highlight. So
Yes, ma'am.
I would,
look into that aspect, isn't it, Tanushri ma'am?
yes, I would just like to, because already Bhargavi ma'am has just opened up the stage. I would just like to, comment on this aspect, just because the major sub theme of this session is media. So what you could have done, Ramendranath ji, you spoke
Yeah,
about
ma'am.
discovery, you spoke about books, right? You were just now mentioning about them. So rather you could have highlighted how a particular media, maybe you could have taken electronic or digital media, because that is the buzzword in today's
Yeah.
times. So any particular media, how it has come up with spreading information or disseminating information about the technological growth and development, and in some way, making the people aware of it or educating the people. And the second most important observation, without taking so much of time, you said you have made use of content analysis, right, Ramindranath ji?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
But then if we make use of content analysis, firstly, your paper lacks in one area. See, a research paper, whether you do on the basis of secondary data, even
Yes,
if you
ma'am.
follow a content analysis method, it should look that some amount of research is there. So it was just stating ki you have just taken the facts and you're just showing in the chronological or the historical pattern ki these all things happen in Iron Age, Vedic age, medieval age. So these all things we are already aware of. We know
No, it
about.
is, as Tanushri ma'am, I would just like to add to it. It's just a descriptive paper based on the secondary analysis. If you say content analysis, as Tanushri ma'am is just pointing out, it is a methodology used in media studies.
Sure, very true, very true.
Where we use a system, a method. So never use these kind of words if you are not actually using.
Definitely.
And because other fellow researchers are presenting their papers, and it will go down, it will set a bad example to them, because they will think, okay, this is accepted, means we can also do like that. That doesn't happen that way, right? So
and one more thing, very rightly mentioned. Okay, I will give you one help, Ramindranath ji. Even if you are mentioning it's a review paper, you have reviewed the technological growth, how the story of the technological growth, and you have mentioned about Indian heritage. What you could have done, see, in content analysis, you have to make some certain subsets, some categories. You could have either said how the technology has grown and developed into a particular section. Maybe textile you talked about. In that particular section, what were some of the noticeable technological growth and development? Then in those areas, you could have split that up. Whether it was technology in this direction, technology in that direction. See, certain amount of research should be there. So when you study, I would advise you, please little bit revisit what is content analysis, because content analysis, you have to create certain variables. You have to create certain sub areas, and on the basis of that, you again analyze the available data. Okay, so you should not just be stating the facts and just pasting them and presenting in them, isn't it, Ramendra ji? I think you have understood.
Yes, ma'am.
So
Next divide the paper into subsections, and in all those like for example, if I'm doing a content analysis of Times of India, then I can say I'm doing a content analysis on the basis of frequency, on the basis of contents covered on page 3, contents covered in page 1. So there should be certain parameters, criterias. Okay. So
Yes,
wish you all the best.
Codify that and then explain that. You have to divide it into sets, divisions,
Sure.
and then you
Yes,
have to come up with your analysis of that. That is
yeah,
content.
ma'am. I will improve it. I have
Yeah.
noted it.
Right. That's fine.
I will do it.
Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Next presenter, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, is it visible?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Good evening. Good afternoon. I am Shani Das. Today I'm going to present this paper entitled International Communication, a Case Study Approach of the Major Issues in Changing Times, jointly prepared by me and Mr. Arjun Mitro. These are the major areas of focus in this research. These are international communication, case study, and globalization. International communication has existed since people first formed communities and began exchanging ideas and goods with others globally. International communication is the practice of communicating across international borders. The increasing effects and influences of globalization caused the need for international communication. It is also known as global communication or transnational communication. There are two objectives behind this study. In general, to fully understand the significance of international communication, and more specifically, in order to comprehend the issues that arises as a result of unfavorable international communication. In doing this research, the qualitative research method was adopted. For this study, it was chosen to undertake a meta-analysis of qualitative data. Data has been gathered from 50 journal articles for this research paper from 2019 to 2020. As it can be seen, the major findings of this research are as follows. First, we can see that is linguistic barrier. When compared to international communication, misunderstandings are likely to occur. Linguistic communication is affected when one or both parties are unable to communicate due to language barrier. When it comes to international communication, the English language is crucial. However, practice shows that international communication does not always take place in English. Secondly, there is cultural diversity. Since people from different cultures have different mindsets, as well as different languages, signs, and symbols, cultural diversity makes communication different. Miscommunication is caused by cultural differences in behavior and personality, such as body language, thinking, communication etiquette, and customs. People in America, for example, speak openly because it is ingrained in their culture. An Indian used to being highly oblique in his communication may find Germany's straightforward style of speaking offensive. Directness is a feature of the German culture, and it manifests itself in the way people communicate. Hence, we can say that communication shapes culture and culture shapes communication. Thirdly, we have media imperialism. Media imperialism is a subsection of cultural imperialism. For a long time, it was widely assumed that Western media, particularly the US, as well as the technology associated with it, were imperialistic and dominated less developed nations and cultures. For example, a huge number of movies are made in the United States. In the case of films, Hollywood is a significant producer of films that are generally of high quality and are distributed globally. The term Bollywood refers to India's Hindi language film industry and exemplifies Hollywood's dominance in the entertainment industry. Fourthly, effect of new technologies. Technology has altered how we communicate in both our personal and professional lives, but it also has the potential to cause problems. Cyber criminals use communication technology to steal financial information and commit identity theft. Essentially, the technology brings about question of data security and privacy, which brings problem to international communication. Last but not the least, we have different time zone. Time differences have been shown to have a statistically significant negative impact on international communication. Time zone differences can also be a source of difficulty for nations that rely more heavily on trade and commerce than others. For many years, the impact on time zones on international communication has been a little known but critically important topic that has been significant over time and has been a topic of debate at many times. For example, Spain is one of the countries dealing with these difficulties. Spain, which is now in the Central Europe, should be on Greenwich Mean Time, as should the UK, Morocco, Mali, and Portugal. The country is working to resolve the time zone issue in response to a request from the Spanish government. In conclusion, we can say that international communication, as beneficial as it appears, has implications on many communities and need to be studied much more thoroughly with empirical evidence. Understanding global relations require knowledge of international communication. Problems with communication make it impossible to have productive relationships. This concept encompasses not only on family ties, but also on global ties. The concept of globalization refers to the idea that humans share values, cultural norms, and traditions. As a result, international communication will become increasingly important. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
So Tanushree ma'am, you have any question?
Yes. I would like to say your presentation was little good in clarity, to be very honest. You were at least, and firstly, I would really appreciate, because when you're presenting in an international conference, PPT is a must. Because that looks little unprofessional. You cannot present it on the basis of an MS Word document. So that shows your preparedness. So that way you were good. Only one thing I would like to ask you is, the international communication is a very broad term, right? Was it the presentation being given by Dr. Jitendra? Who can I know the name, please? The name of the presenter. Can I please know the name of the presenter? Yes, am I audible? Bhargava ma'am, am I audible?
You're audible. The name of the presenter was.
Here's the abstract. Women over the time, as we all know, have aspired and longed for the freedom of equality, to be positioned on an equal pedestal and to have an equal opportunity to prove themselves. This study here aims to analyze how social media contributes to this purpose, whether it helps to raise public and mainstream media's awareness for the women-centered problems, or its efficiency in promoting gender equality, both online as well as offline. The study will evaluate and explore how women all over the world are utilizing social media networking sites to amplify their message. In this research paper, one, that is the Me Too movement, case study is done, content analysis, and mixed methodology, that is quantitative and qualitative analysis, which includes a questionnaire, is used for the study. I'll give a brief introduction. Social media platforms have emerged as the ultimate tool for business and public use alike since their creation. And social media has, as we all know, has also facilitated the process of communication more than ever. And it also grants a level of privacy to individuals who express themselves without being oppressed. And women and people have oppressed throughout the years, and they have now kind of found the strength of voice themselves through effective social media platforms. It also plays an important platform where women can express their opinions and make important decisions through it. They have gained a platform to express themselves in every other aspect. And social media has also been proved to be an effective tool for presenting women's rights problems to a broader audience. Cases like the Me Too movement, the Women Supporting Challenge, and the He for She initiative have gotten a lot of coverage through social media. As a result, more attention is paid to such topics and more awareness is created through these issues. Social media thus can be one of the best tools in the history of mankind to become one of the most interactive platforms powered by technological advancements. I have gone through 15 research articles. Here, I have chosen the 3 most important that I felt according to this study is relatable. One is Role of Media in Accelerating Women Empowerment by Ananta Narayana and Tawfiq Ahmed. According to the researcher and findings here, media plays a critical role in accelerating women's empowerment and contributing to the economic equality. This study also suggests that mass media has often unconsciously shaped, influenced, and impacted society's thought process and behavioral patterns. Role of Alternative Media in Empowerment of Women by Geeta Kashyap. Here also the researcher kind of concludes that it's in several ways digital media has given women more independence and encouraged them to express their feelings, emotions, and thoughts which were previously ignored. Women Empowerment in Reference to Usage of Social Media by Ravneet Kaur. This study sheds light on the challenges faced by women who aspire to succeed in the global marketplace and how through the use of different social media outlets, she creates opportunities for equality, not just for herself, but for society as a whole. The research gap I found in these literature reviews was most of the research papers were based on outdated or old media impact. Most of the research papers had similar contents. And even if they were focused on social media platforms, it was mostly based on Facebook. In this research paper, I have tried to focus on other digital platforms like Instagram and Twitter. Research method, as I mentioned previously, it's a mixed methodology. Online survey was conducted and 50 samples were distributed and 62 participants were included in that. They were given both open-ended and closed-ended questions, and it was evaluated later, and the case study was done on Me Too movement. Based on this, the conclusion of the research was drawn. Objectives of the research. This study aimed to find the following objectives: evaluate the impact of social media in achieving gender equality, to identify the role of social media if it provides a platform to improve or whether to degrade women's representation, and to provide ample evidence of how social media platforms have proved to be profoundly functional in voicing issues related to gender equality. Here are some of the findings. Major of the respondents out of 62 participants were female and belonged to the student category. Some of the important, I'll only read out the important findings. When asked if social media can be misused, which can be led to dangerous consequences, majority of the respondents, that is 61.3%, strongly agreed to it. But they also agreed, majority of them, 43.5%, also disagreed with the statement that social media provided more opportunities for gender equality. And when asked if gender equality exists in online platforms, majority, that is 51.6%, said yes. And also 54.8% agreed with the statement that social media has been used in a broad way to create awareness about gender equality issues. Out of 62 participants, 25 of them chose to give the answers in questionnaire to the question, where a question was asked that which social media campaign, according to you, played an important role in promoting women's empowerment. And the most common answer was Me Too movement. Majority of the respondents, that is 55.7%, agreed to the statement that Me Too movement, the women's right campaigns on social media, have been instrumental in bringing about positive changes in women's lives. Conclusion, this research was conducted to evaluate the impact of social media on the race of gender equality. Over the period of my research, while analyzing the case studies for the Me Too movement initiated by Raya Sarkar in India, the social media campaign created a crucial and huge impact among the masses, especially for women. And similar to having a coin two sides, there are negative aspects of the campaign as well, but the positive aspect seems brighter and with most unheard voices being heard here. Hence, on the better aspect of using social media, it can be seen as a safe virtual space where women can raise their voices on such platform. This amplifies the process of highlighting the issues related to gender equality and creating more awareness about it. Moreover, social media, being a powerful tool in modern times, can be an effective medium to eradicate the traditional barriers of women's voices being unheard, which was also agreed upon by the respondents in the questionnaire that was provided to them. This being one of the objectives of the research paper, hence was achieved. Thank you.
Yeah. Any questions
atrocity on women, isn't it? So this is becoming much more specific. But then you mentioned that, so that was not fully correct. But one thing
I'll look
you
into it now.
handle it very nicely. I must appreciate you, Isha. A number of studies has been done on FB, Facebook, definitely.
Yes, ma'am.
So you have said you made a study in the perspective of Twitter and Instagram. So
Yes, ma'am.
I found when you used quantitative method, so there you were not able to exactly, put some good questions. See, the way you put questions, you get responses. So you
Yes.
should have mentioned ki whether Twitter or Instagram, because you have mentioned that ki my study is little different, and that is mentioned in your research gap. You have made a study specifically in terms of Twitter and Insta. So whether you put some questions in regard to that, so there you missed out. That is something which is very, very important. Second thing is that for a research paper, definitely you can improve, Isha. You have made a study of 50 people. I would fully encourage you, make it 100 next time. Okay.
Sure,
So
ma'am.
whenever you want to make a good, a good quality research paper, 50 is very less. Okay. So
Yes,
you
ma'am.
can in the future come up with 100 respondents study. And the third thing is that maybe those were the data which came up. I could find somewhere the responses coming. The people said it is really very, positive. It helped in showcasing some of the gender equality issues. And in one slide you have mentioned ki more than almost 50% of the people have said ki social media is not playing a role in gender equality. That was, I think, the second last slide. So can you just comment in one line about that? Yes.
Ma'am, like as I said, this has a both yin and yang effect. Like in a way, they give us a voice, like to voice out our opinions, like a platform. But at the same time, I feel like according to the respondents as well, they went many safe space for social media. Like there are places where women in social media as well are bullied or like questioned and criticized. So it can be a both way path. Like one, it gives us a platform, but at the same time, this is also not a so much of safe space. Also, ma'am, I would like to add one last thing. I had actually included few of the questions related to Instagram and all, but I felt the PPT will be very long and I had to do it in a constricted time strain. So I just...
No issues.
I
Over
was
to you,
about to
Bhargavi
tell
ma'am.
that
Yes.
because I have heard that her presentation and she had included Twitter. And but maybe yes. Okay. Next presenter.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, good presentation.
Ma'am, I'm going next, Karuna.
Yeah, Karuna.
Ma'am, host has disabled participant
They
screen
will
sharing.
do it. They'll do it. So please enable the screen share, please.
No, ma'am.
So can you please enable the screen share option?
Yes, try now.
Yeah, try now.
Yes, ma'am. It's okay. Good afternoon, ma'am. So, my studies on community radio as an educational tool in Bangalore. It is a case study about radioactive 90.4 MHz, which is a community radio owned by Jain University. It is authorized with Jain University. So here is the abstract. Well, I have aimed to show the importance of community radio as a tool for education and to raise awareness in this significance, and I have taken radioactive as a particular case study over here. Well, in the introduction, the first thing that I would like to tell that most of us are looking at digital media and television nowadays. Radio has been kind of neglected over here, but it is the most reliable and most cost-friendly source of information. Education and it can provide education, expertise, strategy, empower individuals to understand their rights and duties in all forms and all cultures. A particular community radio can be taught in different cultures, and in a diverse country like India, it plays a major role in raising awareness. It also creates a viewpoint of looking at life, and the most competent thing can also bring advancement in the country. It not only investigates ideal thoughts but also gives it a platform to put across your thoughts to all kinds of individuals who are there in a particular community. And the mass media's influence in promoting this country's development and in the field of research worldwide is improving human quality in different nations. And this has impacted media development also in all forms, whether it is print media, digital media, or and also looking at the circumstances in which they live. But to understand community radio as a tool, we must first look at adult education in India. Well, the main aim of adult education in India was to create everyone from India competent and able to provide meaningful information, whether it's through reading, writing, or numerical juggling figures. And such information is obligatory for any individual living in a democratic country like India or any other nation also. And um, to expand India's education rate and put these uncultured individuals on par has brought light on adult education in India. Next, we are looking at radio as a channel of education. Well, the social economic development over here plays a major role through community radio.
I think you can skip all these things. What do you say, Bhargavi ma'am?
Okay, ma'am, as you
She can just talk about, see, in fact, this can be a message for everyone. Talk about your, what your study is about and what your findings and conclusion. So any questions, and you can also talk about the methodology, okay? Any
Okay.
the thing we can ask in the Q&A.
Okay, ma'am. We must understand adult education in India, radio as a channel of education, community radio in specific to India, also raising community radio for women empowerment. And here, what my case study is about, it is particular to radioactive. Well, it was started in 2007. It has been 14 years since it has been going on, and it has been gaining a lot of support through different kind of NGOs, because it is raising a lot of awareness in the place where radioactive is working, especially in the form of giving mathematical knowledge to the local community over there. Well, Radioactive had conducted a 180 episode long show under two banners, uh, Extraordinary Radio beneath the pennant of Radio Mathematics, and Atapata under the banner of Radio Mathematics. In both the shows, there were total of 180 episodes where they were trying to portray a story and also trying to give out the different ways of how the people can apply different mathematical applications in daily life, where the less fortunate do not have instant calculator for them to use it right over there. So these episodes which were created by Radioactive have helped the local community a lot in Bangalore, because they are not being cheated now in the community. Well, I felt there was a need for this study. There have been discussions and arguments for it, and it is logical to ask why community radio has not been intended for development rate. Whereas, if we move along with the community based radio model, it must be established, and it is still flourishing. And well, looking at any community radio in India, it has been expanding the mass media in also also digital and traditional form. Well, here are my observations of the show that was conducted by Radioactive. It included a radioactive team and eager participants who were a great success. There were four focus group discussions, and it provided a support in mathematical ideas for children, women, men, with a new approach and philosophy behind each episode. It was not only teaching basic mathematics in each show. There were different activities and ways of teaching them so that they remember these tricks and tips for life, not only mugging up those concepts. Here is the research gap. Well, Radioactive is the first radio community in Bangalore. And Radioactive is the only community radio in Bangalore which has been taking this initiative to educate domestic workers. No other radio station or private radio station has been doing this in Bangalore. Well, here is my research methodology. I have combined qualitative as well as quantitative data techniques over here. In qualitative techniques, I have been taking interviews from people and their thoughts and opinions about how this is actually helping, and I got a very good response from it. There were also people in support of digital media, but traditional media is still in the hearts of every person over here. And through quantitative research, I had given out Google Forms to people asking for their preferable choice. I had submitted these Google Forms to the less fortunate as well as the urban living people around my society. And here is the conclusion that I drew from this. Radio has been overlooked and less important by the government and commercial groups as a mass communication medium. How we think and hear really affects our attention through audio tapes and programs. Our creative side functions more better and increases creativity and develops our way of living and thinking. The right side of and this is a scientific fact which I'm going to state now. The right side of the human brain is for analytical thinking and the other side is for creative thinking. Radio is the most essential tool in the spread of information because it reaches a higher proportion of people independent of their location. Radio is the only medium for non-formal as well as formal education that plays a key part, as well as in distant education. Radio has been operating and providing community benefits. And the significant part over here is that the participatory active is aspect is very high over here. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, any questions, ma'am? Any questions?
Audible, Bhargavi, ma'am?
Yeah, very much.
Okay, so that was really all compliments to you, Karuna. That was a wonderful presentation because, it was very interesting to listen to. You have made it very specific in terms of Bangalore. That is very correct. And, you have made use of all quantitative as well as qualitative. Only one thing, we don't have so much of time. In your findings and analysis, you could have just mentioned at least little bit, which were some of the questions which you asked. And which
as Isha also said,
yes.
It would have taken a lot of time. I have already taken.
I could understand that, but otherwise it was wonderful to listen to you. All right, so all the best. So keep working hard like this, and you have taken Bangalore, one particular city, for that focus group which you mentioned. So is it secondary database or whether you also conducted something like that?
No, ma'am, it is primary data. Secondary data. I had talked to the RJs over there, RJ Priyanka. She is the first transgender in the country to be a radio jockey.
Very good, very good. So all the best. It was wonderful to listen to you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was all because of Bhargavi, ma'am.
No, you did well.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am, because they're my students, I'm not asking question, okay?
Because no. It was a good paper, ma'am, and the topic was very interesting and very confidently she has presented.
Tanushree, ma'am, it is very important to sensitize students on grassroots media because, it's a rush for TRPs, people are forgetting the importance of grassroots medias. So that is the reason, we kind of encourage them on these areas.
Definitely, everywhere we find only digital, So somebody talking about community radio, so grassroots media, wonderful. So you have done a good job, Karuna. All my good wishes.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Next presenter, please.
May I share my screen now, ma'am?
Yeah. Patel sir, please activate the screen share option.
Yes, participant's name?
Pragnya.
Is it visible now, ma'am?
Yeah, it is visible.
Yes, it is.
Just a moment, please.
Yeah, you can start.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you can start quickly. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Just a moment.
Start. We can see.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Pradeepta, and today I will be presenting on my research paper, which is Gender and Diversity in Beauty, which is a comparative analysis of the Instagram content from two makeup brands, Milk Makeup and MAC Cosmetics. I would like to begin with I'll gloss over the introduction here. Essentially, the reason I chose this topic is that currently the global beauty industry is on a large scale, with sales as of 2019 amounting to over $380 billion. And naturally, with this market being so large, in this booming, saturated industry, brands are vying for customers' attention. And one of the strategies that they're using in their marketing these days is the sort of use of inclusivity and gender and representation and such to appeal to consumers, especially since this representation of people of different gender identities, as well as people from certain underserved communities, such as the LGBTQ plus community, is growing more common and more popular, especially in the content that brands are putting out that cater to Generation Y and Generation Z. Now, my particular study aims to understand how gender as a concept and how the different genders factor into the marketing of the cosmetics in this current era, as well as how those their implications are in relation to the social psychology, the gender studies, media studies, and marketing fields. For this purpose, the two makeup brands I have chosen are Milk Makeup, which was established in 2014, and MAC Cosmetics, which was established in 1984. So there's quite a big difference. But the reason I chose both is because they have the common factor of marketing themselves as makeup brands that are meant to be accessible to everyone, regardless of their race, age, or gender. To begin with, I'd like to go over how I chose the sample. Essentially, I took posts over a 4-month period from February to May of this year, listed them in descending order by date. And for the purpose of the study, only posts that were featuring individuals were actually included for the sample. Posts that included only products or other objects were disqualified from the sample unless the product only posts in question actually were sourced from other content creators on Instagram. Out of the list thus created, 100 posts were randomly selected for the study. Now, coming to the method I used for my research, the content from both these brands' Instagram pages, Milk Makeup and MAC Cosmetics, was analyzed according to 4 coding categories that I chose pertaining to gender representation. The 4 categories were female, male, non-binary, and unknown. So the frequency of each gender's representation in the post was the unit for analysis. So each appearance of a person in a post would count as one occurrence for their specific gender category. So one female person appearing in a post would be considered as one occurrence for the female category. Now, the coding categories were based on information that's publicly available, which I could use to verify the individual's gender. And the simplest way that I chose for this was to reference the pronouns used by the featured individuals. This is the criteria I used for the selection of the pronouns and categorization. So people who used she, her, hers were coded as women or female. Those who said he, him were men, they, them, their, as well as certain neo-pronouns that are more common in certain Western countries were coded as non-binary. And individuals whose pronouns that I could not reasonably and confidently verify were coded as unknown. Now, since these people could not be verified, they aren't really considered as a big factor in the study. This category was created just so that I have a space to place these individuals. Now, posts featuring one or more individuals were considered for analysis, and partial appearances of individuals in product demos or swatches where they're holding products were also considered, but only if the posts were actually reposted content from a content creator whose gender that I could personally verify. Now, here is a short chart to show the distribution of the Milk Makeup cosmetics gender distribution. I found a total of 126 individuals that occurred in this brand's content in the sample. The majority of which were female, 95 of them were female, so that comes to 75%. 10 males were accounted for, 11 non-binary individuals, and 10 whose gender was unknown. Coming to MAC Cosmetics, again, females accounted for the vast majority of it, which is 89 individuals out of 123, which comes to 72%. There were 17 males, 5 non-binary individuals, and 12 unknown. Now, coming to the main findings, the majority of people featured in the Instagram posts of both brands, Milk Makeup and MAC Cosmetics, were all women. The sample posts from the data I gathered from milk makeup actually featured more non-binary people than men, whereas the inverse was true for MAC Cosmetics because they featured more men than non-binary people. Additionally, I found that in Milk Makeup's Instagram page, there was a sort of explicit representation of gender, the individual's gender, through the text or the caption itself. So in addition to whatever text such as this product is being showcased and please buy it now, there would be the pronouns of the individual in brackets. So at so and so is using our skin tint, and beside their Instagram handle would be the pronouns in the brackets. So she/her or he/him. However, the same could not be said for the MAC Cosmetics page, where the key differences in the percentage of each gender represented in this study, I believe, could reflect to a certain extent the actual real life gender representation among the consumer base of each brand. So it could be said that non-binary consumers are more attracted to Milk Makeup and therefore they're better represented in their posts, whereas men are more likely to opt for MAC Cosmetics and therefore they would go for, they're more represented there. There's this practice of using cosmetics and makeup is still largely seen as feminine or female, which I believe leads to this sort of female-oriented makeup-related advertising where it mostly features women. Additionally, I found that I believe that makeup brands that have more diverse gender representation in their content could be a sort of indicator of future trends where this sort of gender inclusivity and diversity are treated more as the norm than the outlier. The key takeaways, I believe, from this would be that first, this is connected, of course, to the theoretical framework that I used for my research. The sort of social media marketing and what they're doing with their gender representation can be seen as a sort of exercise in objectification, with reference to Moscovici's social representations theory, where it talks about how you're making the unfamiliar familiar. You're taking some abstract concept and making it more tangible. Additionally, the concept of gender expression, identities are all quite intangible and abstract and perhaps inaccessible to the general public. However, making them more accessible to them actually gains importance because we have to consider the role of abstract modeling through the mass media, which was actually given by Albert Bandura, his social learning theory, where he talks about how just by seeing the people being represented and treated a certain way through the mass media, that the people's mindsets can be changed as well. And finally, the key takeaway, I think the most important thing and the reason this sort of gender representation in advertising matters is that familiarity in itself can breed acceptance over time, as has been seen in the past. Now, this is in reference to Zajong's mere exposure effect and Moscovici's minority effect, where sorry, just a moment. Yeah. So these two brands, Milk Makeup and MAC Cosmetics, having large followings on social media and having large consumer bases, as they regularly post content featuring people with different gender identities and expressions, that could actually lead to the audiences of both these brands becoming more accepting towards gender non-conforming people and people with different gender identities or diverse gender identities over time. And I think this sort of the world of cosmetics in particular is a good place for this sort of gender representation to begin, because gender and makeup have a sort of intrinsic bond, because over the years we have been conditioned to see certain objects or certain things being a part of a certain gender's expression. For example, makeup is seen as a female's tool of gender expression. However, with this being normalized as being used by different gender identities, I think should this become a trend and should this spread towards other brands, especially brands within our own nation of India, I think that could indicate a sort of positive change in the future where people become more accepting of the diverse gender identities through a perhaps unexpected means. And with that, I would like to, yes. Sorry, just a moment. Yes, and with that, I would like to conclude my presentation. Thank you very much for your time, and I will stop sharing my screen now if that's all right.
Yeah.
Takeaways, very significant takeaways which will benefit, the advertising industry to a great extent. So the research should have some wonderful impact concerning takeaways. Only the thing is that maybe you can little bit then change the topic. That is creating little bit of, a lack of clarity. You can either put it like, gender portrayal, yeah, gender representation, which you mentioned also very much at the end. Your topic is gender and diversity in beauty. So people, even me, I was thinking something else when I just saw your topic. And when you started off, and when I completely listened to your entire presentation, I saw you have worked up in a very different way. So you can put something like decoding, gender portrayal, isn't it?
Okay,
In the
ma'am.
beauty
Okay.
sector, or decoding gender representation. So make it very simple. And then it goes with the contents which you have right now presented. All right, so that was something very good. I could have asked one or two more questions, but then the time is very less. But then your presentation was very interesting. So I wish you all good luck.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I'll take your feedback into consideration. And thank you for the opportunity.
It was very good presentation. Yes, yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Over to you, Bhargavi, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Next presenter, please. So,
Ma'am, can I go next?
yes, yes.
Ma'am, can you please enable the screen sharing?
It's done. Sir, can you?
Yes, your name?
Yeah.
Your name?
Rakshita.
Rakshita.
Yes, try now.
With me as experimental films. It is a brief study of Kannada film industry. My abstract goes like this. Sandalwood is also, Kannada film industry is also known as Sandalwood. It has seen a consistent growth in many decades, and many actors and producers and directors have put together great efforts to present worthy films to the audience. And as years passed, the content and the filmmaking style in this industry has witnessed a lot of changes due to many actors and directors and the new talents. And this has given birth to the showcase of a variety of new conceptual and experimental films. And the main two films which I have taken is U-Turn and Lucia, which is directed by the Indian film director called Pawan Kumar. And one main question is whether these films have caught the eyes of the audience or have impressed them. So though it is important to study these films, it is also important to uncover the scope of this very big industry. So this research paper is going to study the new ideas and concepts put forward in Kannada films, and also the areas and genres in which they can be explored in the future. I'll go fast. Introduction, we all know that cinema is a major source of entertainment, and they not only provide us with entertainment, but also sometimes educates us. So films can be both a boon and a bane, which mainly depends upon the directors and the quality of production or the content they're giving to us. And when we come to Kannada film industry, it comes with many names such as Sandalwood, Chandanavana, or Kannada cinema. Prior to this film industry, there was Kannada theatre and drama, through which many actors and directors have come now. And Kannada, for the first Kannada talkie film was Sati Sulochana in 1934, and we can't forget the contributions of Putana Kangal in this case, and also Gubbi Virana. And it was during 1970s that Sandalwood began to grow slowly, and many commercial and art films were produced, and approximately about 138 films were produced, and there were many famous films we all know, such as Bangarada Manusha, Kasturi Nivasa, Babru Vahana, Nagarahavu. And 1990s was a time period which underwent huge changes, and there were hundreds of commercial films, and many new techniques of filmmaking also were produced, and the concept of remake also took birth. And in the present millennium, this industry has gone through many changes. It has not only carved a place for itself in Indian cinema, but also the world cinema. Many experimental films were also showcased, and there has been a new wave in filmmaking style. These are the review of literature. I took about 15 to 16 review of literature, which here I guess only 3 are very important. So first one is about the critical analysis of history of Kannada cinema. Mr. Mahesh Chandra says that this industry has used different cinema production technologies such as DTS, advanced cameras, visual effects, dubbing, GFX, everything. So one advantage is that main advantage is that there are many great talented actors and filmmakers now, and there are very great competent film personalities, and many of these films are being produced now have creativity, meaningful messages, and good taste. So this paper also states that there is great ability for this industry to progress in the future. Next one is Srinidhi Adiga's paper. She kind of opposes this. I can't say opposes, but it's like a contrast. She says that quality of the film in this industry is rapidly declining because there are hero-centric films and magnifying fight scenes, etc. So the charm of the yesteryears is gone from the past 2 decades, and some of the directors nowadays are trying to be creative and thinking innovative. And for example, Pawan Kumar, as I stated, and Anu Bandari and Rakshit Shetty also have made a great effort. Next one is Mr. Prabhudev's article. According to his paper, the active participation of theatre personalities in the Kannada film industry and the great support of the local audience has led to the growth of the industry. And as I said, Gubbi Veerana's enormous contributions have played a very important role. He grew many great talented actors. One of the best example I can give is Dr. Rajkumar. And he has said that the new wave has led to the production of many commercial films, and there is a good scope for the growth in the Kannada film world. The methodology which I have used is mixed methodology, which includes qualitative and quantitative. Qualitative, I've analyzed 2 of his films, that is Lucia and U-Turn, and quantitative is done through questionnaires. And significance is nowadays narrative and content oriented cinemas have begun to take good shape, and they have earned viewers' attention. So this study will throw light on these kind of cinemas. And the research objective, the main objective is to study this industry, the new filmmaking styles, and also to suggest ideas and journals in which this industry can enter and explore in the future. To be very simple, this paper will be like a mediator between the audience and the filmmakers. Normally we can post reviews and filmmakers can see it, but this will go a step more than that. Major findings, I'll just make it short. Majority of them watch Kannada films weekly once, and they prefer comedy and psychological thriller films. And 97% of them want new and young talents to be given opportunities and encouragements, which I think is less seen nowadays. And according to the respondents, new style is needed to give good competition to other industries and enjoy new journeys. And new style, according to them, means creating interesting storylines with a very versatile concepts. And half of them feel that making of pan-India films is necessary. And 82.4% of them feel that traditional filmmaking style is serving as a major drawback, because major of the films being released today have been implementing the traditional filmmaking style. There is no versatile concept according to the audience. And 85% of the respondents opted to become a daring and talented versatile filmmakers instead of a traditional expert filmmaker. They want to try new things, so they want the filmmakers to also try new things. So to conclude, this research was conducted with a very sincere approach and honest approach, and and also to understand the audience feedback or the mindset on Kannada film industry. This study also showed that more than half, that is 54.4% of them, are not satisfied with the films made in present times. So to conclude, my last statement is that 95% of them believe that better opportunities have to be given out to young and talented actors that will lead Sandalwood to explore and reach the next level in world cinema. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Ma'am, over to you.
That was again a good presentation.
The future.
Okay, so that was really very good. Your questions, I must comment, they were really very good, and you might have come up with some wonderful, conclusions and responses from the side of the people, right? So wish you all good luck, Rakshita, on that note. God bless.
So support to her. We all know what's going on there. So yeah, over to you, Suraya.
Thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Saraya Sarwakhil from Afghanistan, master degree student in media studies from Jain University. And my topic is about women's participation in the Afghan peace process and its reflection in the media. I will have a complete introduction, which you may find the methodology I have used and the question and the object of the study. Well, after the revolution of 2001 by USA military operation, the whole society, Afghan society, have changed the value, beliefs, and everything. And that's why women be able to have a role in the society, and they become active in the society. Also, Afghan government promised to participate women in big political decision for the nations, and that's why they hired women. I'm talking specifically about the peace process, and they hired women in High Peace Council in 2011. And the next step for peace process, which beginning by the negotiation with the Taliban in last 2 years, they also get women to participate in the Ministry of Peace Affairs. And after that, they identified 5 women representatives for Doha meeting and a single woman in Moscow conference. The low number of women in this process was the issue for a women advocate organization and media to criticize and reprove of government. A lot of media content and programs discuss about the concerning issue as criticism, litigate, and advocacy. In this study, the struggle is to evaluate and analyze the participation of women and also the role of women in this process for making the big decision for Afghan nations, and also, in other hand, try to assessment of media as a great democratic organization to work on this subject, and also for civil rights over a fundamental group such as Taliban in the society, which is struggling and suffering a lot of pain for joining the democracy or reaching to democracy and human rights. Will I have a glance to Afghan women in last 20 years? Afghan women are consisting 14.2 million of Afghan nation from 34 million strong population. And in Afghanistan, women get married soon after the graduation of school or before graduation under the age of 16 or 18. And in the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan in 2004 make a constitutional law. And by this constitutional law, the women and men have equal rights. The 83 article of this constitutional law says that at least 2 women from each province must be elected in lower house. It means from 250 members, 68 must be women. And also in this constitutional law, they clarified that 60% of upper house, which chosen by people, must be women, and also a half of people who are selecting by the president must be women. And also in 2009, Afghanistan had signed by President law about the elimination of violence against women. Then a ministry is specified for women, a Ministry of Women's Affairs, and which had action for gender equality for women and also women rights. And the United Nations Assistance Mission also had particularly women rights project and programs for Afghan women. Women, by this all activity, women become governmental, international, and private sector workers, and they were active in every cases of human rights, women rights, several social, political, cultural, and economical activities.
Sorry to interrupt. Can you go to the findings and the conclusion, please? Because we are having paucity of time here.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I have research in this case, and I have done with the collecting of a questionnaire from 120 people from 3 provinces of Afghanistan, and about the belief of women participation, they said 80% said yes, they believe, and about the agreement of selected women for representative, they were in doubt mostly and not agree at all, and also about the concerning from Taliban ideology, they said yes, for sure they are concerning, and also about if the Taliban promise to women's right, it will be available or maybe possible, they said not at all. And also the media content, these people say the media content is most reflect the women's issue, and also their expectation from media was also like the option, yes, it must be. My findings, women's political participation after the 2-decade work for their rights is still unsustainable. And however, the women participate in every cases, but mostly the rule was symbolic in this case. And the low appearance of women in the peace process as a political participation challenge in many cases, and they faced many challenges. And also I have found that woman is a familiar word and image in the context of recent years in the Afghan media. And the result shows that, that media was very active and focused on covering the rule of participation, the role and participation of women in this process, and which is very important for Afghan nation. And reflecting on peace issue for women raises women awareness and encourage them to participate in this process. And by creating such condition, the eliminating of women and treading their rights seems impossible. And another major thing that in media content was the sentence like we do not go to the past, which is very usual as a hashtag in the social media. Also, the women who want to analyze this issue, starting and ending their debates and sessions by these sentences. And also, I have found the media has mediator, advocate, accessible, and opportunity maker role for commencement and emphasize on the topic deeply in the all media platform and content formats. Here's my references. Thank you very much. If you have any question, I am here.
Yeah, over to you, Tanushree ma'am.
Yes, am I audible, Suraya?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so it was really wonderful to listen to you, and first of all, I compliment you for getting connected, from so distant, that is the power of technology. And, right now, the topic which you have talked about is very relevant, very contemporary, and it was interesting.
Amidst the conflict and chaos she's facing, so every day we are worried about her safety. We all know what's happening in Afghanistan, and we are trying our best to get her back to India, but we are not able to do that. So in spite of all the challenges, she mustered the courage and showed enthusiasm to present here. So, I have no words to kind of compliment her on this.
Definitely. And I think you have even given us some food for thought also, to be very honest. One or two things which you have pointed out, definitely we are seeing every day on the news channels as well as on digital platforms. Women are significantly coming forward, especially the women journalists. The women journalists in Afghanistan, they're also coming forward a lot, raising their voice. So they want to show, we are really coming up and demonstrating. Only the thing is that the two areas are a little separate. That is how the media is showing this issue. Regarding the which way the women are being treated right now presently over there, what is their opinion, what are they doing precisely. And the second is a different picture, right? How women in totality can play a very effective role in bringing about peace All right. So maybe you can separate these two areas, because when I was seeing your findings, some places you were focusing about how media is playing a very effective role, and some places how women are playing a very effective role. They are, they are not journals, they are not journalists, but how the common women of Afghanistan, how they are playing a very important role in all these peace process and bringing up peace and making the people think about it. Now what will be the fate of women now in future in Afghanistan? But definitely you had some wonderful lines which made me think, and I compliment you that from there, at this particular time of turmoil and such kind of uncertainty situation, you have written a paper. And one more thing before I forget, you have mentioned 120 respondents, right? So that is something really very good. We always expect that in a research work, field work should be there. So you might have come across various challenges, so but wonderfully presented. And definitely we all women come to the conclusion that over there women can really make and create a difference, and make others think and feel for a while. So I wish you all good luck, Suraya. It was so wonderful to connect with you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
My topic is trial by media and empirical study. So media is, as we all know, media is recognized as the fourth state of democracy, where the trial is generally done by the established court of law. Media trial is the influence of newspaper as well as other electronic media's reporting on a person's prominence. Media is a very important, plays a very vital and important role in framing certain beliefs or certain aspects to the society. So Article 19 1A of Constitution provides media the freedom of press, which gives the right of speech and expression. So hence the media sets its own agency of trial, and interrupts when the justice is needed for certain cases. So court are comprised in media trial. Doing media trial affects the fair trial. So because media usually most of the times deviates the topic of discussion that may lead to some wrongful conviction. So a few papers which I reviewed is like one from Javed Ahmad Bhagat, whose paper is titled as Media Coverage of Trials, Legal Uncertainty. He tries to understand the extent of media inclusion in the cases which are under sub judice before court of law to set some fairness and justice in general public. So the researcher concludes or finds out that many a times media are prejudiced, or the law is diverted when they are when the remarks or set some remarks when those cases are under hearing. Another paper is from Dipali Purohit. The paper titled as Impact of Media Trial in Fair Trial. The researcher tries to acknowledge the effect of media trial in fair trial. The researcher states that there is restriction on trial is on media trial is very much necessary, so that people may not have wrong conception on of administration of justice. So for the sake of democracy, it is better to have some self-regulated and self-disciplined rules for media, to avoid it to interrupt the court's judgment. So I'll directly go to a few media trial cases which has requisite positive feature. Like these media trials have helped in a positive manner. So for example, the most known case is Jessica Lal murder case, where the convict was Siddharth Vasish, that is Manu Sharma. He kept on denying his the charges on him. where Manu Sharma being a son of very well-known Congress leader, the case was very difficult to crack down because all the people who were in the hotel that day failed to that all witness had turned blinded their eyes. So the Tehelka magazine carried out a few sting operation on many of the witnesses who turned hostile and seized them on camera, agreeing that Manu Sharma's father had suborned them. Based on each and every evidence collected, Manu Sharma was finally caught and justice of life sentence was punished. So the Tehelka magazine sting operation actually helped in solving this problem, like this case, which the court couldn't, like the law couldn't, this one. The next, if I come to the next case, it is Ruchika Gihrotra case, where a 14-year-old girl was abused from an inspector, police SPS Rathor. When the Ruchika was against such molestation and when there was a complaint registered, that he had harassed the victim, her family and her friends. The girl was very much, she was very mentally disturbed and she committed suicide. The case took 19 years with 14 adjourns and many hearings. Finally, on 22nd December 2009, after 19 years, the court finally ordered the Rathor as guilty and sentenced him 6 months imprisonment, which was then extended. This case was a huge impact case, was completely focused by the media and had caused enormous sense of anger among general public. So I'll skip to the negative aspect, like negative feature of media trial as a an operation. So Uma Kurana case, where Uma Kurana was a mathematics teacher in a government school, government Vidyalaya in Delhi, where she was almost killed by anger from the mob, from the public, for faking the sting by a fake sting operation. The sting operation, which was occurred, was processed by blackmail.
Go to the last case. You can go to the last case. The time limit.
Okay, like the to come, the examples of negative was this these murder cases. So when the recent media trial is Sushant Singh Rajput media trial case, where media, being the fourth estate, where rushed with enormous viewers. There was gender bias in this coverage. All media was reckless, thoughtless, and careless in handling the issues. They failed to differentiate between reporting what exactly has to be reported, along with like simply sensationalizing the news. Media had no right to target a person or to declare or guilty or provoke the public with negative sentiments. This the narrative or to the case that is being done in the channels is, from the very first day of his death, has changed from suicide to murder conspiracy, with a lot of colorful stories cooked parallel to his case. The media and Sushant Singh case have ignored the fact of freedom of it, that its freedom cannot be unrestrained to broadcast defamatory materials marked with insinuation, fabrication, and careless criticism. Being the media's role of being watchdog is completely different from being a judge. The coverage case, which was handed over to CBI, did not even end, but just the investigation associated matters. The media coverage liberally with Ria's confidential videos, photos, which all which arouse the viewers in a virtual mass molestation. Media trial cases has violated all the laws of Sushant case has violated all the laws and was facing in such an extent, and the media nearly forgot its lawful duty. There were 4 important bodies, namely NCB, CBI, and ED and police investigation, which was given for this case. But the media poke its nose to this case. So, to the whole conclusion, I would like to say that journalism is a dynamic social construct which is changing, evolving over time. The technology and the social media have completely transformed the way of how it looks at journalism, and also how the news and digital contents are consumed. Media has led to its significant role of changing policies to avoid a miscarriage of justice, but it is the question of highlighting and coming up with the evidence and putting it in place. Beyond that, it is not media's job to judge. In the end, the stories media choose to tell is an editorial choice. The media's job is to drive change, but it cannot and should not carry out the changes. Thank you.
Thank you. Over to you, ma'am.
Yes, only one line I would like to say, Samhita. Means, media trial is a subject which has been discussed. So the first thing is that you could have done a lot more in regard to that. I would again like to say it's a research paper presentation going on. So definitely you can improve. But whatever you have said, people are aware of it, because this session deals with media. So specifically, we all know all these cases, like Jessica Lal, Delhi case, all these cases. So you were just stating the facts which we already know. So I am telling it again and again in regard to the first presentation, what is new in that? And even I was thinking you might come up with something in your conclusion and findings. So they were also having the points which we are already aware of. So that is the first thing. Even if you are doing review paper or a secondary database paper, please analyze them in your own words. You could have taken how the media has covered day by Sushant Singh Rajput's case, SSR's case, how it was handled, what was the trend in regard to the comments of the people coming up on the digital space, online space. So how that was affecting the opinion of the people, because media trials influence the opinion of the people. So it is doing it very significantly. Second observation, most of your cases were very old. So leaving out Sushant Singh Rajput, rest all cases are very old cases, So when you deal with any research paper, include such cases dealing with sting operations or media trials, which are very latest and contemporary. So these are all my very important suggestions, but please implement on it. Don't deal with anything. It is not copy pasting in a research paper. It should have something in which you are analyzing something. All right. So maybe you gave a very good effort. So I think there is still little bit scope for improvement. Yes. Over to you, Bhargavi ma'am.
Thank you, Mukherjee ma'am, for your patient listening of all the students and also giving your suggestions. See, I could not do it because most of them were from my university. Okay. So I had that kind of conflict of interest which came to play. So I had to just listen to what they said. And sometimes I was just even biting my nail here, because I know what they have done and what they have not done, and what I think you can understand my dilemma. So I congratulate Dr. Patel for this exclusive session on media and society, because, sir, media is so important. Today's media is, media of TRP, media of post-truth era. We are living in an era where the content is commodified. Okay. So in fact, I will be speaking about it later. We had the owner of Times of India, Vinny Jain, who said that I'm in advertising business. I'm not a media baron, when he was interviewed by New Yorker in 2012. So, after that, when he could say this in 2012, now today we are in 2021. So this era, is all, it's belonging to fake news. It's the era of media trials. So now the credibility or the verified media, there is a dearth, serious want of, that media, which was, verified, which was credible. So, keeping these things in mind, especially our research scholars and students who are going to be the future researchers, they have a lot of questions in front of them to investigate, to find out, and then present. So I think this was very important session, and all the presenters brought different colors of media according to me. And we congratulate, I think collectively, me and Tanushri Mukherjee, congratulate all the presenters for taking their time, researching and then coming forward to present. Because see, even I can see that there were so many students who were ready, but they were hesitating to present. You need to bring yourself that courage, first presentation. Once you do twice, thrice, four time, and then you will be, cool with it. But, even coming up and speaking in an international conference like this is commendable. And we congratulate all the presenters. All the best to you. And, any suggestions, we are all there. You can always get back to us. Thank you, everyone. Thank you once again, Patelji, for this platform.
I would also like to say one line, all my thanks to Patel sir for curating, this entire session. And I really loved, I've been into the teaching field of hardcore media education, from the past 16 years. So I've been teaching, students of journalism and mass communication, as well as MBA students, because they too have subjects. And my area has always been public relations, event management, and corporate communication. But then, we, after teaching in this field for so many years, it's always so wonderful to join in a session where people are speaking about the different facets related to the functioning of media industry. So firstly, I would like to compliment Patel sir that the session was really very interesting. I loved every bit of it. Secondly, I would like to compliment all the presenters that they came up with a basket. They came up with a basket having beautiful flowers, because, somebody speaking about cinema, somebody talking about trials, somebody going up to, gender portrayal, and even somebody talking about gender equality. And somebody even, I would even say the person who spoke about technological development in per se of the heritage of India. So they were different.
And community radio, please don't forget
community radio. Yeah, that how could I, seriously? So that was community radio. So I loved, I love.
We had a presenter from Afghanistan, right?
Presenter from Afghanistan. So see, you can see my excitement on my video. So, that shows me. I love those sessions where the students are having something to offer, because even I feel, being a thorough academician, we also learn. We also gain a lot. So maybe 3-4 pointers, even the presenter from Afghanistan, she really made me think again which way the women can contribute significantly. But then definitely when we are teaching into media for these many years, the time has come. I would just like to conclude thanking all the paper presenters. It takes a lot of guts to give a wonderful presentation. You gave your best. So 1 or 2 suggestions, that is a part of the day, we as a session chair, we will always give you suggestions, and that is definitely something very positive for your improvement. Maybe you can come up with a second paper, a second version of the paper on the basis of ma'am's suggestion.
And also you can advance the same study, for example.
Definitely. When you submit to ma'am or Patel sir, you can furthermore work on the suggestions which I have given, or which Bhargavi ma'am has given, and you can little bit, make your paper much more qualitative. But finally, one note which I want everybody to think of today, media talks a lot about, creativity. Their creativity should not get hampered. They should be completely free. But then I feel somewhere little bit of regulation is required, which is for all the participants to think of, especially in terms of OTT platforms. Everybody knows the fate of it. I will not comment on conventional media, radio, television, print. Print is really taken a back seat. After this corona, print is really struggling. It is undergoing a very bad phase, Even industry is picking up slowly, because I'm a hardcore faculty of event management and public relations. But then definitely television, again, little bit had to face the brunt of it. But when we talk about digital platforms, everybody was listening and going through the movies on all OTT platforms. But IB minister, one food for thought I would like to give to all all other people over here. You know, the IB minister, Mr. Prakash Javadekar, he also said, I give a lot of time to the OTT platforms, you know, they will come up with some self-regulatory mechanisms, but they could not do it. They did not do it. So ultimately we had to do it. So we came up with a kind of a 3-tier regulatory mechanism, although it is not something very substantial. It may not be completely controlling the OTT platform, but now the time has come that we should really think about what all are the contents going to the people on the OTT platforms. So media is completely free, and this digital online video streaming platforms, there is no restriction on them, but are they really following their self-created self-regulatory mechanisms and norms? So this is something which really needs to be thought of, because every children is watching anything on Netflix, Amazon Prime, isn't it? On Z and all. So now the time has come, we should little bit read on this. Students should read on what are the developments coming up. Many more developments might come up. And finally, I would like to conclude all my compliments to all the organizers for organizing such a wonderful conference. Patel sir, Bhargavi ma'am, it was so wonderful to know you all, and all my good wishes to all the paper presenters. Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone. So I would like to add one note, because, you know, otherwise, you know, it will not complete it. There was this recent study done by University in New York. You know, it's called University Kannada Apples. They said that, you know, fake news, they actually surveyed 2,000 respondents and came to know that, you know, fake news was far more popular than the real news, especially during the US elections, you know. So in fact, we are talking about global media, and that is the reason, you know, I'm telling that, you know, this is the era of fake news, if we can see, especially post-Trump, you know, post-truth. Yeah, I think these will be the future research topics. I mean, there are already a lot of research done, but I think our students should consider the OTT, fake news and invention. I mean, these will be the new topics, I think, next. Maybe we can have separate sessions on these, isn't it?
Definitely, ma'am. So we will organize one specific media congress on such topics in the future months.
Very good.
Very short time, probably in the December month, if you are ready for the MOU with us.
We will be, and you know,
you will be also joining in our congress.
Yes, sir.
Definitely.
Definitely. So it was so wonderful to be a part of it.
Right. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Can I leave, sir, Patel, sir?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
With all your permission.
Yes, definitely. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Bye, Bhargavi, ma'am.
Bye,
ma'am. Let's catch up. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll be in touch.
जो हिंदी वाले पार्टिसिपेंट्स ज्वाइन हुए हैं, जो प्रेजेंटेशन सेशन 4 में जिनका नेम है, वो अब से एग्जैक्ट 5 मिनट के बाद में स्टार्ट करेंगे फिर से. थैंक यू ऑल.
Thank you.